Good morning. At last we're going to get to plant some vegetables. The weather's been awful and there was no rush to get this stuff out. It's all been hardening off. So it came out of the polytunnel probably about a month ago into a cold frame. And then it's been a couple of weeks in the cold frame, maybe 3 weeks actually. And it's been outside now for a week, 10 days. So everything's really hardened off nicely. It's gone a little past it, some of it. It'll be fine, but I'd sooner have it a little bit big and then I would small, plant it out too early and it just takes a big hit. So I'll take you over and show you what we've got. So we have beetroot Boston. Started these, these were started probably almost 2 months ago. Nice root system. Really nice root system, just ready to go out. Next we have, and I need my little poking out stick, we have our main crop onions. These were sown Boxing Day. Now they've got a really nice root system on them. So we'll just, all I'm going to do with these when I'm ready is literally just pop it out. So again, you can see there's a nice root system. They're just now ready to go out. They'll settle in really quickly. So that's our main crop, and that one is called Fortress. Then next to that, again, nice root system. We have a shallot called Zebrune and another shallot which is Ambition. Bit of weed on the top of these, so they're ready. So we're going to do those, and then we're going to go through some brassicas. So I've got kale scarlet. Got to check labels because I can't remember what these were. Cabbage Santa F1, so that's an all year round cabbage, as all round as we can get it here in Ontario. We have a broccoli, extra early. Normally your broccoli would be planted out if we were in a milder climate. Your broccoli would be planted out in the fall, overwintered, and then it starts producing early spring. We have to kind of plant it a little different here because they won't overwinter outside. So they'll go in now, they'll start producing something for us very late summer into the fall. And then we have another kale, Cavallo Nero. All of these will not actually start giving us any kale until it cools off a little bit late summer. They make out, depends how hot it gets. They certainly don't like too much heat, but we will have to keep these guys watered. And then we have a couple of beans. So we have, and again, I have to remind myself.
Well, it's vegetables, Gary. You're not that keen.
I know. I don't mind beans. This is a barlotto, so that will go out. And I also sow some seed of that direct. These were started, these barlotto beans and my kidney beans, these were started about almost 2 months ago in the greenhouse, cold. So no heat, but they've been out hardened off, so these are ready. And then after that, we have two varieties of kidney beans. We grow kidney beans. We don't grow the traditional po beans. So one is Firestorm, which is a red flower, and the other is Celebration. Celebration is a beautiful pink flower, and it's a little bit earlier than Firestorm. So.
And we find that the hummingbirds absolutely adore these flowers, don't they?
Oh God, yeah, the hummingbirds go absolutely nuts. Once these red runner beans start flowering, the honeybees, the hummingbirds just pretty well sit on the top of the net and just, that's as far as they go. And some of these actually, this Celebration actually, I just see, has got the start of some flowers already. These could have done with going out at least 10, almost 2 weeks ago, but it was too cold. They like the heat, they do not like the cold, and they would have just gone backwards. So it was better to keep them in, hardening off outside, but somewhere a little protected. It's a little drafty where we're planting out. So I'm going to plant out a few of each. I'm not going to bore you with planting everything. So I'm going to plant a few of each, show you how we plant it out, spacing and everything, and then I'll go on, finish it, and then Julie will come back later on once it's all finished and show you the garden. Now, if she turns around, this is our temporary vegetable garden. Now, it's been temporary now for about 8 or 9 years. The orchard used to be our kitchen garden. And then one thing and another, we took out the old kitchen garden because of the weddings. I just didn't have the time to do everything. And we put it here. And it's still here. And it'll be here for a couple more years yet because we haven't quite decided where we want to move it to. And then we have our raspberries behind that, and then beyond that we have a potato patch. So it looks a little bleak at the moment, nothing in here, but believe you me, once I get all this planted and a few days it all settles in, it'll fly away. Now this morning it's a little hazy. We're getting a lot of smoke come over from the wildfires they're having out west. So it's almost a perfect morning. And Willow's really intelligent Australian shepherd who's panting and sitting in the full sun.
Being bugged by flies.
Flies, she hates flies. So we'll start off with the brassicas. We've found that it's absolutely pointless planting brassicas in the garden unless you cover them to keep the aphids, to keep the caterpillars, to keep the old bunch of bugs off. When we first came here, we had no problems with any of that. We had very few aphids, very few caterpillars, bearing in mind that this was just a farmer's field. And as we've planted more plant material, we've planted hedges, we've planted shout-abouts, unfortunately more and more bugs, more and more unwanted bugs have come in, as well as obviously we have all the butterflies, the bees, hummingbirds. None of that was here when we came here. Now we have an abundance of that, but we also have an abundance of all the nasties.
We created a bug haven.
Yeah, we've got a bug haven here. So we've learned that if you're going to brassicas particularly, you got to put the insect screen over them. So yesterday I came up, all I've done is I've made some little tiny holes. I've driven in bamboo canes. Now the bamboo canes were about 3 foot tall, so I drove them in and they come to about here, and then I just get a piece of water pipe. If you can see that in the bottom, I just get a little piece of, there's the bamboo, it's quite solid, and then I just water pipe and then push it down, and then that we can just put the white insect screen over the top, just weight it down the sides. Now these beds are not really quite wide enough for brassicas. Could have done with 4 foot wide beds, but yeah, so let's go on and plant. So we'll start with the scarlet. I'm going to get on my hands and knees because it's easier. I have my
That's something you don't see every day.
Yeah, always on my hands and knees nowadays. Measuring stick, 2 feet apart. So, I mean, it's pretty basic. This has not been dug over, it's not been dug deep for, oh, I don't know, 3 years now. We just put fresh manure on. This actual bed was left fallow last year. It had nothing in it. So we'll start off with these guys. Again, really nice root system. When you're planting any of the brassicas, you can plant them a little bit deep if you want. But the one thing you must do with them is fern them down really, really well.
And why is that?
2 things. They like a really solid, compact soil to root into. And these guys will make 2 feet, 3 feet tall up here. And they need that solidness around them. Otherwise, you're just going to blow over and you'll end up caning them. We did Brussels sprouts last year and they nearly reached 4 feet tall. So we've got these, like I said, these 2 feet apart. So we'll just move it down. And knock the guys out. A little bit deeper if you want, don't have to. And firm them. Now this, I should have showed you on that one. This compost that these were pricked out into did have, and I did incorporate a small amount of slow release fertilizer. Not much, just enough to keep them, because I knew they were going to be in these pots for a little while. So there's a little bit of slow, and you can see I can actually squish these now. They're breaking down and they are now releasing the nutrients that's in them. And as I've said many times, it's actually temperature and moisture activated. So put the third one in there. Like I said, a little bit deep. The soil, and firm it in really hard. And that's it. And then I'll do a double row, but I will stagger the rows. So on the other side, the first one will actually go in there. I'm not going to move across. But that's the same for all the brassicas. So they'll all be planted the same way. They'll all have 2 feet spacing and they'll be planted alternate. Whether I'm going to plant all of each variety, I don't know. I'm not a fan of brassicas at all, but I've been, I think Julie's no, she's not re-educating me because I still don't like it, but apparently it's good for you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that's the brassicas. Okay, next we have shallots. These were started by Boxing Day in the propagating tunnel on heat and obviously supplementary light. This is shallot ambition. So when they take a little bit of around the top to get rid of a little bit of that, because they like a bit of sun on the very base. They're a little bit wobbly, but they've got a really nice root system. Now with these, you must not plant them deep. They must go back in at the same height as the pot. So it's not quite deep enough. There we go. And then just pull the soil around, gentle firming, and there we go. Now, spacing wise, I do a trowel and a half. I don't know what that distance is without measuring it, because I just do a trowel and a half. It's about 15 to 17 inches apart. And I'll do one more. As I say, these beds really aren't quite wide enough. Knock it out again, really nice root system. Could have been done with being planted out a good 10 days, 2 weeks ago, but it was just too cold. So again, pop him in, soil around, firm him down, make sure the top is exposed, and that's it. That's your shallots. Pop the label in. Now these guys multiply, so I don't know. Oh, I do have one here. This one's already started to multiply. So this one was 1. It's now
turn it around.
This was 1. It's now turning into 2. Chances are you'll have 5 or 6 come out of here. That's why they need a bigger spacing, because by the time they've multiplied up, they'll take up about this much room. And then this much room, and it just gives you enough room to be able to hoe in between and remove the weeds. And then we use the shallots are always used for our pickled onions.
You like those?
Oh, I like the pickled onions. Oh yeah. And the thing is, it doesn't matter how many we grow, we still run out every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's the shallots. So that's that one. Beetroot. Again, these were started a couple months ago in the greenhouse. Nice root system. Taken from the greenhouse, put into a cold frame, hardened off in the cold frame. These have been outside for a couple of weeks, but where I have them outside, it's quite sheltered. But you can see there's a little bit of change of colour. That's cold weather that we had. There's no way they could have come out. They were just sat there, and things go backwards when it's too cold, too wet. So you're better off keeping them somewhere a little protected until it warms up. Well, okay, so we're a week late this year planting out. Doesn't matter. These things will catch up really quick. Josie, get off my blinking vegetable bed. So, same again. Dig the hole. Same depth as the plug, pop them in. These are nice and easy. Now, these can be a little closer. We use these, Julie uses these for pickling. Well, she pickles them, I should say. So we don't necessarily need huge, great big plants. Now, this bed last year.
So, sorry, what's the distance between those?
I don't know.
8 inches?
I don't know. I'll have to have a measure. Hang on. Been doing this for so long. I don't think about how far apart. You know how far apart you need to plant things once you've been doing it for long enough. So there we are. So these will make between sort of tennis ball size. That's all we're after. We don't want anything bigger. So they're going to be tennis ball size. So they're about 8 inches apart.
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah. And then where are we? We're about 12 inches between the rows. Kidney beans, runner beans, whichever you prefer to call them. Again, these were started a couple of months ago in the greenhouse, not on heat, just in the greenhouse. They should have gone out a good 2 weeks ago, but it was just too cold. Beans, in general, will not take low temperatures. These have been hardened off in the cold frame and then in my sheltered spot outside. If these had been put outside, during that cold snap we had 10 days ago, there'd be nothing left. These would be shriveled up and you'd be starting all over again. You can direct sow these, but we find that by obviously potting, doing them in pots, getting them going, we do get a lot earlier crop. Again, I know these have got a really good root system on them. They're not the easiest to get out without damaging it. There we go. Nice root system. Like I said, almost too much. I did have to spend an hour just untangling them all. So this bed, been running beans for a couple of years now. Gets topped up with manure, and these, everything in that I've planted today will be top dressed with grass clippings. So again, these can go in at about 8 inches apart. There's a lot of worm activity in here, which is nice. And as you can see, these things have certainly got some length on them already. So they do, like I said, they're a bit of a challenge to get out of these pots. There we go. Oh, that one's a touch dry. That's not a problem. Again, you've got to be fairly careful because you will break these if you're not, because they have got so much growth on them. Again, just get it in, little firming, and away you go. We'll do one more. So good depth again. This soil is pretty deep because I keep adding stuff to it. So again, great big long one until it lets go. There. So throw that back there, get him into the ground, get some soil around him, and there. Then we just feed it up through, being careful not to break the new growth. And then once these things get settled in, they'll soon grab out and they'll be gone. I'll pop that one all the way up there, and we'll just leave him there. What I will do is probably actually go through once I've finished planting, and I will pop a seed in between every plant. And then they're going to come up, and they'll be a good 6 weeks behind the first ones. And that will give us that succession of pickings then, rather than everything coming all at once. This will all get top dressed with grass clippings. Everything I plant will get top dressed with grass clippings. Dandelion season's finished almost, so I don't have to worry about that.
And not to forget to give everything a really good soak.
Yeah, exactly. Like Julie said, give everything a good soak. And then these will actually have drip line on them. It's here. I just got to set it back up again. And this is drip line, not soaker hose. Soaker hose is not the ideal. The volume of water that comes out at the nearest to the faucet is much, much higher than the volume that comes out at the other end. This is pressure regulated. So there's a dripper every 12 inches. And it's the same amount of volume of water comes out at the top of the row as the bottom of the row. So just a little bit of a catch up. Potatoes, they're looking really, really nice. Taking a lot of water at the moment. Heat doesn't seem to bother them at all. They do get a lot of sunshine here. Looking really, as I say, looking really nice. Watering them pretty well every day now. There's a lot of foliage there. So yeah, so it looks like we're going to have some good spuds. So we'll head into the greenhouse and we'll give you a bit of a catch up on the tomatoes, cucumbers and melons. Looking really good. Haven't got to pinching out the side shoots yet today. So I will do that this afternoon. They need a bit of a tie-in, but yeah, they're going absolutely nuts. Setting some really nice trusses. I don't know if we've got any fruit set. Yep, we've got fruit set. So this is the beefsteak. You can see that already. So all I'm doing is just snapping out these side shoots and then just tying in the main stem, main leader to go on up the cane.
But yeah. Certainly growing.
Oh yeah, they're really growing well as well. So that's those. And then up on the bench here, we have our bush, and they've gone absolutely nuts. So these are all ready for potting up now. They've got up into a 3-gallon pot. They're a little bit drawn because it got so hot for a couple of days. They were actually getting a bit of heat stress. So I had to move them back underneath the shade, but they'll slowly get moved back out in the full sun, especially when I pot them up into a bigger pot. And then as for the melons, well, you can see for yourself, they're going absolutely nuts. They really are.
I'll have to check and see what date it was that we did the video on these prior, because these have really, oh my goodness.
And we've actually, I did see some fruit set Oh, here we go. If you look in here, Julie, we got
Mhm.
fruit set there. So there's one there. There's another one here. So what I do, oh, there's another one there. What I do with these, we have the main stem, and then it will send out these side shoots. So if you follow that from the tip back, you'll find a flower and a fruit. So I'll remove that from there on. So then everything, all the goodness will then go into this fruit. And then obviously the plant goes on up and up and up and up. So yeah, they're actually, I would say they're probably putting on 6 to 8 inches a day now. I'm watering them twice a day because it hit 38 degrees in here yesterday at this end of the polytunnel. They don't mind. They love the heat. And then the cucumbers, they're a little slower. But again, you can see we've got fruit set already. There's one there, and these things are so vigorous. Look at fruit set all the way down to the bottom. So there's no need to remove leaves. There is no need to remove the first flowers. It's absolutely pointless. Got fruit set everywhere. And then this guy has actually got one that we'll be picking today.
I like them this small.
Yeah, so that's a really nice one. And then over here, in one of the earlier videos we did, we had our very early tomatoes. This is golden cherry, and we've had 2 or 3 pickings off of these guys already. They do need tying in, and I've got to then get some taller canes for them. And again, being watered twice a day. No supplementary feed at the moment. They don't need it. There's enough feed in the compost. Wait for probably the first 2 trusses to ripen. After that, I will start feeding them. And we are going to do a piece on making your own fertilizer. But that will be in a couple of weeks' time.